optimized for sim racing, and in most businesses, not the case.
Are they gonna reinvest it? Creates more value for the customer.
Manufacturing cost in order to hit a certain
Again, this cost has to come from somewhere. It's a real cost.
price that is accessible to that many people. Learning and listening to
Hey, what's up, everybody? Ray here from VRS with another podcast. This time, we're not doing a technical conversation, focus more on the inner workings, the business side, how these things come from thought to you, all the things that go into marketing, all of the things that bring us and bring our community closer together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take at the business side, look up sim racing. We're going to talk to Peter and Alex, who we've all met before, so no introductions are needed. So let's get started because I think there's going to be a lot of information that you guys find useful. You guys ready today?
Ready?
yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Hey, listen, this is you guys' business. I'm just here to support. But this is going to be fun because there's some things that I get to learn today. So looking at the business side, right? Like many people don't understand the cost of what it takes to do all of the things that we currently do. We know behind the scenes there's money that's being spent, but nobody has an understanding. It's like the myth when people thought that, hey, the margins must be high. That's why they're doing the upgradable Direct Force Pro 20. But as we talked about before, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, so we're going to explain those. So let's talk about margins, right? Margins, costs, what customers are really paying. Peter, I'm going to come to you first because, again, you founded the company. So let's talk about the margins. What are the hidden costs?
The reason I started DFP20 back in the day was because I had an OSW, which was one of the few direct drive offerings available on the market. I think I spent around $1,600 to get it shipped from the UK. It was essentially a kit that you put together. Had to buy my own separate ATX box to put all the components in it. And I looked at the individual components that I was buying, and I just thought about the amount of margin there is in each one of them. And when you add them all together, you end up with a $1,600 product. And I thought that can be right. It can certainly be done better, but it took me some time, probably a couple of years, until I got to the point of looking into more into hardware. Like we discussed last episode, I focused initially on the software side, and then at one point I got really interested in hardware, and that's when I started looking more seriously into margins. So I thought it would be a good topic for this episode of the podcast to discuss with Alex and share with our viewers more about the business side of sim racing. And essentially, where does the money that you spend as a consumer, what does it go to cover? And I think I'm gonna let Alex give a little bit of a one-on-one on business and how the financials work out. Like, what's the top line, what's the bottom line, and then we can have you ask some more questions and explore some interesting topics.
Absolutely. Alex?
Let me just ask Peter, which year was this that you bought the $1,600? Really? Like, when was that?
2016.
2016. Wow. How things changed, huh? And what was the wheelbase like?
So at that time, the really like top end product was Leo Bodner's. Is it Ray? Do you remember what it's called?
Yeah, it's Leo Bodnar has their own.
Yeah, they actually have like a brand name, like a product name, but everybody knows it by Leo Bodner, right? So, so that was like 3 or 4 thousand British pounds. At that time, it was 1.3 conversion ratio, the currencies. So I think it's like what 5,000 US dollars.
And it was not even available in the US. That's
No,
crazy.
no, I think they were shipping it
They were-
from the UK, but yeah, it was I think let's say 4,000, around 4,000. That was the gold standard. And there I don't think there was another direct drive at that time, and OSW was essentially a kind of open source solution where people just built a direct drive wheelbase out of off the shelf components. And Granity Devices, the makers of SimiCube, their were, I mean, I think they still have industrial servo motor control. So essentially, people picked up their servo driver board, and there's like a couple of boards. I don't remember exactly what they were called back in the day. So essentially, you needed two components from synchronity devices, and you needed a PSU, you needed some wire harnesses, you needed like a brake resistor. Essentially, you had to buy the components, like what's on the bottom of a wheelbase, and you had to source it yourself. As an if you didn't want to spend five grand, 4 or 5 grand, then you go and source those things on your own and read the forums. Or I don't think there were even videos at that time, or you could purchase a complete kit from somebody who was buying parts, in some cases maybe at some volume, so they could get a little bit of a discount when they buy 10 of or 20 of instead of just one of, and then package it, give you an instruction manual, and give you some support if things don't work out. And that was probably like a third, half or third of the cost of what it costs to buy the Leo Budner. I think that's what started this whole OSW community. And then after that is when I think SimiCube came out with their own dedicated board optimized for sim racing, and Fanatec came out with the DD1. I think when we came out with our product, that's around the same time SimiCube came out and Fanatec came out with their direct drive wheelbase as well. Ray, you've been around the block a while, so you probably remember.
I remember a few, and I remember I couldn't afford it. That's all I remember. It's like, I mean, like I didn't invest in direct drive until I did get the Fanatec CSL-DD because it was the cheapest I could afford. That was plug and play, right? Because everybody knew Fanatec, and it was just like, oh, I could buy this and plug it in. I didn't have it for long, but I did buy it and use it. So yeah, I mean, we can have a long story about my journey to VRS. But I mean, it served its purpose for like the 4 months that I had it.
So let's talk, what is gross margin? What is operational margin? What is net margin? I mean, those are some terms that we kind of use in business. And today we kind of gonna focus specifically on gross margin. And I'll explain why. But what is each of those? You know, gross margin is like selling price minus the cost of making the product. And it's usually, if we're talking about gross margin percentage, is divided by the selling price, you know. So what is difference between gross margin and operational margin? Operational margin is gross margin minus operating costs. Some of those are engineering salaries, like R&D stuff, you know, some selling, some tooling, or essentially it's called G&A sometimes. And then we have the net margin, which is pretty much what's left after all the costs, the pure, or it can be also called in a way profit, you know.
If a business is profitable, which is
If a
in
business,
most businesses not the case.
exactly, if a business is profitable, that's a good. Essentially, if a business is breaking even, the net margin is going to be zero. So, gross margin. Why do we look at gross margin? You know, so what I said again, it's selling price minus the cost of making the product. And when we say the cost of making the product, you know, it's getting the little components from different places, manufacture some of those components, putting them all together, you know, the touch labor. This is the people that go to the assembly line and they put things together. That's part of this cost as well. What is not included here is the research and development, which is the know-how of how to build things. You know, this is very important piece, because we're going to talk about where most companies spend their money, especially in the sim industry, in the sim racing, you know. But yeah, that's the gross margin. So what is also not included in the gross margin is the marketing, you know. So marketing and the selling, the price of the cost of selling, that's kind of G&A. And a lot of companies heavily pump money into this. But at the end of the day, this comes out of the bottom line, you know. So how today we're just gonna try to peel a little bit, you know, out of the onion of what exactly happens behind the curtains. We're gonna peel off and see how the cost is built, where the money goes, more importantly, where the customer's money goes in a company once they buy a product.
Oh, that sounds great, right? Because many times we don't understand, and I'll say even myself as a sim racer, like why did they charge $1,000? Why did they charge $1,500? Right? And some of the pushback we're seeing now, which is kind of benefiting us, and I'm going to kind of put that plug in there, right? Some of the wheelbases that are on the market, when you look at price per performance and price per newton meter, like the value incentive for VRS just grows immensely, right? And you're seeing the reviews come out of how people are looking at our products and going, man, like how is it this cheap and this good, right? Like, and for many years, people didn't know of VRS, and now they're learning. And now we're going to, again, like you said, educate them on all the things that goes into all of the hitting costs. But first, we're going to look at scale, right? And Alex, I'm going to start with you. Is scale good for the customer, right? Like as things get bigger, right? As a company goes from, we're a very small company, and there are some advantages to that. But is there an advantage to scaling bigger and bigger and bigger?
Very good question, and probably can be answered different ways. But in my opinion, as companies get bigger, they often get slower in listening to what the real driver needs. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that impacts the customer. This is not about hyping a brand. This is purely trying to explain where the money of the customer goes, and especially with the bigger companies, how this value is kind of lost in a way. So here's the example. Small company heavily invests initially into engineering, puts a product out, start selling the product. They're successful, let's say, they're bringing some money. They either break even or, they make some money on top of everything, all their expenses, they make profit. And the real question is what they're going to do with this profit. Are they going to reinvest it and become bigger, hire more people? Are they going to reinvest it and improve the product? Or are they just going to pocket the money and say, okay, we made profit, we split between all of us, and we continue doing the exact same thing, which sooner or later is going to fail. So really there are two choices here. You have to either reinvest the money into doing more research and development and potentially improve the product that you're selling, launch new product, but that requires also you hiring people. And I don't know if many people know, but the most expensive part of a business is usually that research and development portion. This is where you have to kind of hire the engineers, the very specialized engineers. They have to spend a lot of time researching things. They have to evaluate different components. This is the most expensive, the research and development part of a company, right? So many companies, especially the new ones, they are kind of very limited of how much they can spend on research and development. So as much as they want to listen to their clients, they struggle. Now big companies, so now if they go the opposite way and they decide, okay, let's invest those money into becoming a bigger company. So we need to hire what? Do we need to hire more customer support people? Do we need to hire more, salespeople? Do we need to hire more people to kind of spend on marketing so we can sell more? Do we just go and buy a bigger office where we can build a racetrack on top of the building? And we talk about that.
Right.
Yeah. So see, that's why, and this is the easy part, finding the right engineers, finding the right research to be done to develop this product. That's the hard part, it's the expensive part. So many companies that want to grow, they choose the easy way out. They just spent into marketing, they've spent into bigger headquarters, some fancy entertainment on the roof, maybe, like I said, karting track, maybe, or they simply pump the money back into social media marketing so they can kind of become more famous and more famous. I don't think being bigger makes creates more value for the customer overall, especially with what's happening these days with our competitors, because we do business intelligence. We are aware of what the competitors are doing. We kind of listen. We talk to a lot of other customers. We talk to resellers that work with with some of our resellers or some of our competitors, so we kind of know we know how much discounts they give. We know how much they pump into marketing, So yeah, let's talk more about this.
So, Peter, after what Alex just stated there, right? So, we are small, right? And he talked about some of the disadvantages to becoming a big company, right? And where the trade offs are, right? You got to go here, or you got to go here, or you put a cart track on your roof, and then we know what happens there, right? But, Peter, being a small company, what's the advantage, right? Because you were the founder at the beginning. The advantage you see to having that small company, what do you see it as?
I think the challenge is once you become a bigger company and once you reach certain level of revenue, and typically every company wants to grow, wants to increase their revenue. If you have more revenue, if you have more revenue, then you have more money to reinvest in the business. Most businesses that want to reinvest back into the business. If they have ideas, they invest back into the business. If they don't have ideas, they distribute the excess earnings to shareholders. But the challenge when you become a bigger company is that how do you sustain and how do you expand your sales? And a lot of companies start as sort of a niche, start in a niche that's they find success, and then it can be very challenging to get out of that niche in a more broad market and be successful. And if you actually want to have more success in terms of revenue, you might have to change what you do and how you do it in order to be able to reach that level of revenue. So we started off as a very niche brand, focusing on really the top level of sim racers, working with and developing the hardware products with feedback pretty much exclusively from top sim racers. And I think we were very successful in that niche because we didn't have to do marketing. The hardcore people knew everybody essentially in the community, and we were well known with our software and online service. And the top racers who used our products and helped us develop the products, they all knew each other. So if you have a bunch of top guys using that equipment, everybody else in that small niche notices. But you only have so many people that are at the high end of sim racing in terms of competition and performance. And if you want to grow your revenue, then you need to expand your reach and you need to start targeting people that are not as hardcore, that are not as interested in squeezing every ounce of performance. Then you start getting to people that don't care about all metal buttons on the steering wheel and they care about LED lights behind those buttons.
Right.
And I think if we look back at our wheelbase was very successful, our pedals were very successful, but our first steering wheel wasn't very successful because again we focused on building something for the top most competitive high-end sim racers. And by the time we developed that product, the market was so saturated with so many different steering wheels in all price ranges that it was very difficult for us to stand out at that point. I think we just took way too long with the R&D, and by the time the product was released, I think in terms of when we talk about margins, I think we wanted to have more margins because the feedback we were getting from our own customers is like, your products are so good. Like, why are they so cheap?
Right.
So, we're not gonna go back and change the pricing of our existing products, but we thought, okay, with the steering wheel, we really have the quality, manufacturing quality, durability.
Mhm.
So yeah, let's try to have a higher margin. And I think we made multiple mistakes. I think it took too long to release the product. The market was very saturated with steering wheels, and I think we missed the pricing because we thought, well, we have really high quality and it should cost more because that's what we were hearing from people. And for steering wheels, I think we just did still listen to the pro sim racers, but I mean these guys already had steering wheels
Right.
at this point. So I think it was like a mismatch with what the market wanted and the product we built. And if we wanted to actually scale, like we needed to expand beyond our original niche. And so that's one challenge. Another challenge is if you have a company that is successful and is able to generate revenue, and you want to generate more revenue, then you have to go up after just a more of a mass market, and different things matter in that bigger, broader market. And it, it's a challenge because people would look at like the shiny things. Maybe it's a more shiny packaging, or just like more shiny visual aesthetic, and that what captures people's attention. They're maybe not necessarily very hardcore enthusiasts at this point. They don't want to invest time and effort to do deep research on what's the best value for my money, and like how long is it gonna last. And so people just notice what they notice
Yeah.
everywhere. So if you're in sim racing and you see everybody's like using a certain brand, and you go to different shops online and there's certain brands that are present in every and most shops, then it just you recognize that brand like without necessarily knowing what the brand stands for and what the products are. So it's just like a very different, it's just a different game. So I'm not sure if I really answered your question, but the point is
No.
that if you're a bigger company and you have more, you have, if you want to have more revenue, you need to have more reach. So in order to get the more reach, then you kind of have to choose, like, do you want to play that game? And I think in most cases you just have to play the game, which is to have more reach, you need to be everywhere. Everybody needs to see you, needs to recognize you.
Mhm.
And then you start optimizing. If you optimize for revenue, and you optimize for market share, then I think it's a very natural way to start acting as a company in a way that gets you there.
Absolutely. And I was going to say no. You answered the question, but I think to summarize that, it's 20% of the fan base buys. It consumes more of the gear, right? So 80% doesn't consume as much as the 20% of the fan base consumes 80% of your gear and content and things that you sell, right? So the goal is to get to the other 80%. And like you said, I think the first Formula Wheel attacked the 20% vigilantly, and we had the wheelbase, we had the pedals, they were absolute hits. And like you said, the wheel just took a little bit of time to bake, and the pricing when it first started. But we've talked about that in our first episode with Alex, and we've since pivoted. And I think that goes back to the being small means we're agile, right? It means we can move, we can shift, we can make decisions, we can get together as a team. If you're 500 people strong, then it's a little hard to get everybody or all the major players together at the same time. But if you have a small team that's diverse, that's in multiple different countries around the world, then that gives you the ability to have that leeway to move. So, no, great job answering that one. And that pivots right to the next one, right? Holiday sales. Now, to share a little bit with people out there in the world, thank you for buying and supporting us. We really appreciate it. The numbers we saw, I think Alex will speak to it, but I want to say thank you guys for supporting us. We've seen a lot of great positive reviews and feedback, and you guys have been awesome in the community. So thank you for that. But Alex, holiday sales. Now, is it really as good as it sounds, right? Is it really great for the customer and great for the business, right? Like, what's the benefit analysis when you think of holiday sales like we just had for Black Friday and Christmas and all?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, we did have, first of all, thank you to all the customers that bought from us and for like voting with their wallets. I think that's what really important here, because when I say voting with your wallets, what that really means is a customer chose our brand to say, even that you're not the cheapest, I believe in what you're selling. I trust the quality. I trust the customer service. I trust that you're gonna stay and support this product. So they came and they bought from us, right? Maybe we didn't have the lowest price over the holidays. Maybe there was a competitive product that was maybe lower, but they chose us. To us, that means a lot. And that kind of is a transition to your question, the holiday sale. We didn't have the lowest price out there. There were lower prices than us, right? And we really don't want to compete on prices only. We want to have this perfect balance of quality, that we give to the customer and value that we give to the customer and price, right? We don't want to be highly priced. We don't want to be on the top of the market price wise. We want to be somewhere in the middle. We want to really like balance that quality with the price. Now, look, if something is on sale big time and is being sold, where do you think where those money come from? Like how can they afford? That's the question. Like some people say, oh my, they're selling for 50% off, 40% off. Something they must have so much margin built into this. And the reality, this is not how it works. Like most companies, not us, but what most companies do is like they sell during the year very high prices. They have a lot of margin built in. How do we know this? We talk to resellers, as I mentioned earlier, and what we hear from some of the resellers, they're like, what? You're giving me only that much resale discount? Do you know that your competitor so and so is giving me 60%, 50%, 40%? And I'll tell you, to me, this is shocking because this is more than our gross margin, not net margin, not operational margin, gross margin, right? This is the biggest margin. And those discounts that they give to like resellers, it's more than our margin. Essentially, we need to be selling at complete loss in order to even match that. So that tells me that many companies in the sim racing business have a lot of margin built, and they're just during the year when they're not on sale, they're subsidizing the time at the end of the year when they're gonna go on sale. Is this creates value for the customer? Yeah, if you're the customer who buys at the holidays, you buy something super cheap. But what about the other 90% of the
Right.
customers during
Right.
the year before that Black Friday, Christmas sale, whatever you call it, they all actually had to pay the full price. Is that really fair? I
Yeah,
mean, how,
it's not fair, and as a consumer, it's one of the things that
yeah.
always has bugged me. And until I think last year, well, no, because we're in the new year. Until 2 years ago, we did not have holiday discounts because I just don't think it's right. Why would two different people pay different amount for the same product just because one could wait until the holidays and the other one wanted it right now? So unfortunately, unfortunately, that's how the market works. And I stepped away for about a year, and I let the team do whatever they wanted to do, whatever they thought is right. And if it were up to me, we would not have holiday sales. But I think also I have to say, and thanks to our customers, we did really well this holiday season. But it's still like I don't like holiday sales. I don't think they're right, and at the end of the day, I don't think it's good for the customers. It's not good for the community. I think what I would like to have a great product that you get the same price year along, and you whether you buy it on Thanksgiving or you buy it on March 1st, you're still getting a great deal because it's great product, it's great value, and you spend your money for something that is a really good deal regardless of the day of the year.
No, that's a great point. I'll say this, and this is where it gets tricky, right? Because consumers, especially in the U.S., we have the largest consumer market in the world. But Black Friday and Christmas and Thanksgiving are the biggest days of the year. So if you have great value throughout the year, which we absolutely do, I think the pricing per newton meter, and then when you add performance on top, as we can see in the reviews, as we talked about earlier, there's not a company I believe is doing as good as we are, especially when you think of what we charge to what the product actually is. But that's the nuance of the market. And like I said, Alex, you know more about the market, far more than I'll ever know because I've never been on that side of the business side. You want to dive into more details about the market and how, like, yes, we'd love to just provide great value, which we already do throughout the year. What's the benefit of having the holiday sales and for VRS saying, you know what, we're going to step a toe in it. And from the toe we stepped in it, from the time we were at the expo to the time today, I've seen a tremendous growth. How has these sales impacted us? Just gets people a sample of what and learn about us.
Yeah, good question again. Not so easy to answer, by the way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna answer the question, but before that I wanna touch to what Peter was saying earlier. Unfortunately, without having a holiday sale, you just appear to those customers that come around the holidays as that one company that is not willing to play ball. And people were angry. Like 2 years ago, we were getting emails like, everyone is doing sales. Why you guys not doing sales? It's kind of hard to explain this to people. Like, it's hard to explain that is it really fair for the regular customer that bought 2 months ago same product that now we have the same product discounted, I don't know, 35%. Of course, it's not fair, right? And we try to be very fair with that. We think about those things. Now, why did we have to start playing ball with the other companies? Because we start losing market share. And to be able to continue to improve our products, to launch new products, part of what Peter is saying, there is a choice. You have to either grow or essentially die, right? Or stay the same. If you stay the same, more competitors are gonna come, they're gonna eat you, you're gonna die sooner or later, right? So you have to like constantly try to grow. And how do you grow? There's like a few ways to do it. You control costs, obviously, very important. You try to introduce more products and sell to your existing customer base so you can bring more revenue in, right? Now, introducing new products require a lot of investment, as we talked about engineering, marketing, research and development,
And just
facility.
capital for, yeah, to buy minimum order quantities and lead times. And so you need to tie in a lot of capital like ahead of time.
Yep, and that's your working capital, right? Like you tie capital in production, you cannot pay salaries to the people, right? You cannot cover the marketing expenses. You cannot cover the website cost. So again, something's always gotta give, and we look at that a lot. So one way is to introduce new products, which is costly, as we said. Another way is to increase your prices, and the third way is to start bringing more customers, new customers into you, and that's usually by injecting money into marketing. So how this works with other companies, they say, okay, R&D and engineering is very expensive, so we have a choice here. Do we start investing in a new product? Do we make existing product better? Or do we take all those money and inject them into marketing? And when I say marketing, what I mean huge resellers discounts. Just like Peter was saying earlier, brand recognition is a big thing. You go to the same store or you go to different stores, you see that one brand always there. It makes you kind of familiar with it, and subconsciously, sooner or later, you're gonna buy it just because it's in front of you. You see it everywhere, right? Same thing with marketing and commercials. So like you see those Facebook ads, you see those, Instagram ads, you see TikToks, you see all the influencers using this, that costs money to get that product to the influencers. That's a lot of investment. So many companies choose to not do the hard way, invest in engineering, bring a new product, improve a product. They just inject the money into marketing, and they say, look, we're gonna get all the influencers to use our product. We're just gonna invest heavily into marketing, put our product there. We're gonna create that brand recognition, and once the money starts coming in from the sales, then maybe we're gonna invest into making the product better. And some of them do actually. They make the product better, but it's usually way later in the lifespan of the product.
And maybe let me just express an opinion here. It's not like brands very purposefully say we're gonna design thing poorly. And I don't want to speak to any one brand because I don't know people that are actually running those companies. But it very much depends on the mindset of the leadership. If you
Mhm.
have someone who is more like marketing business minded, they would probably think more about marketing and how to get out everywhere. If it's a company that's more engineering minded, then you probably think more about the quality of the product that you're building, and then you would be weaker on marketing. So I think if you look at the marketplace, and you can probably tell which ones are the more engineering centric
Right.
brands out there, and which ones are the more marketing driven brands out there. And
Absolutely.
I remember the point I wanted to mention, the earlier question about what's the difference between small and big companies. Definitely the scale gives you, what's it called? Scale gives you costs, efficiencies of scale, or what do you call it, Alex?
Yep,
Uh,
efficiency of
yeah.
scale. Yeah.
So cost, bigger scale, you get efficiency of scale. So if you can order one of physical product, it costs a lot. If you can order 100, costs a little less. If you can order 1,000, you're starting to get some meaningful savings. If you can order 10,000, 100,000, then you have, yeah, economy of scale just gives you more significant savings. So obviously, the more you can order at once, the bigger batches you can order, the lower your cost of goods is going to be. But then you need to have the capital to order that amount, and you need to have the marketing to be able to move that much product in a reasonable amount of time. And so, to the question of, is it an advantage or disadvantage, if you intend to produce that much product, you better have a really good marketing machine to move the product. And so that again, like, leads to what are the incentives of the business, and what do you need to do to actually be able to move that product. And so it changes, like, with your scale, you would just need to invest way more heavily on marketing, and it may change your incentives on what you build, how you build, in order to be able to get a cost of goods that is low enough where you can sell that quantity. So it's interesting how things tie in together. If you're ordering batches of 100,000, you get lower price, but then you got to be able to move that much product, and then you need to still, in order to move that much product, you need to hit certain price, because you need to price it at price that is accessible to that many people. So it's an interesting, very interesting, complex interplay between those different factors.
No, very true. And I can tell you, as somebody who has a small business that sells sim racing gear, it's very hard to buy enough to justify the cost, but then have the money to spend. So no, I totally get it. But Alex, I know you wanted to say something there. Did you want to jump back in, or you wanted to move on
Yeah,
to the next
yeah.
question?
And we're not just lifting the hood here. We're showing we're trying to show the entire engine. Like
Right.
another one that I really want to talk about: free shipping. I know Peter has a thing with this. We
Yeah,
can
we're
talk
we were
about
that
it.
was actually the next question.
Oh, yeah, okay. Not going to forward,
Is
but
free
yeah,
shipping real? No, is it real? You go to it. Is
yes,
free
let's talk
shipping
about it.
actually
Yeah,
real? Yeah.
yep. Look, again, this cost has to come from somewhere. It's a real
Yeah.
cost. The freight companies out there, especially these days with tariffs, there is like a
Oh
lot of
boy.
pressure on them. They're not just gonna during the holidays. They actually increase the price during the holidays. They don't go
Yep.
lower. There is no such thing as free shipping. There is no free lunch.
Right.
In fact, just the opposite. Just around the holidays, the freight companies, the shipping companies, the supply chain, they increase the cost of delivery.
Oh
And
wow.
who ends up paying for that? At the end of the day, the consumers. It's actually not
Right.
even the companies, because this is somewhere spread into the margins.
Right.
So it is in there. No such thing as free shipping. I know Peter probably want to put his 2 cents. He's dealt with that for many, many years before I have. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, first of all, the reason things get more expensive during the holidays is because more stuff is being shipped. There's more demand for shipping services. So it's just a very natural market dynamic that happens. But like you said, there's no free shipping. Someone's paying for it. You're paying for it, and it's just baked into the price. And again, you probably subsidizing free shipping for somebody whose shipping costs more. And if you happen to live close to the warehouse where it ships from, then it's cheap to ship to you. You're still paying the price. You're still paying the same price that's baked
Right.
into the list price. So yeah, there is no free shipping, especially if people talking about free shipping on rigs. These things are huge. There's no
Right.
free shipping. It just
Correct.
it's built into the price. It's built into the list price, and
Correct.
it's somebody subsidizing somebody else.
Right. And typically, what I've seen is they're typically estimating what that shipping cost would be on the high end, and just like you said, including it in the cost. So maybe that product would be $1,400. Now it's $1,500, right? And it says free shipping. Oh wow, 1,500 free shipping. It's not
Yeah.
free shipping. It's still being absorbed, right? But yeah, and the fact that shipping companies charge more during the holidays, I've never really understood, because yes, they're shipping more, but they're getting more shipments, which is more money. Like most things, when you increase the quantity of something, right? Like you said, the cost should come down because I have more, but that doesn't work with shipping. So hopefully you guys understand
Uh,
that.
I think
There's,
it's like the search pricing for
yes,
Uber.
yep,
So you can think about it that way.
they could charge you more.
Well, because you need an incentive for more drivers to become available to offer rides, and you need, if you're a shipping company, you probably owe certain number of trucks, but then for the holidays you need to rent additional trucks,
That's true.
and
That's
it's
true.
not as cost effective to rent compared to if you own it and use it all the time. I mean, I don't know the actual finances of freight or shipping companies, but yeah, it actually makes market sense that if you have higher demand, prices will go up because
Right. If you don't have
yeah,
enough resources. Yep. Totally makes
yeah.
sense. No, totally makes sense. Now I'm going to pivot to the next question, because the shipping part, when we talked about discounts, Alex talked about resellers, and we had that, but I want to talk about affiliates, content creators like myself, right? Because you're sending stuff to people, and there's a cost to this. VRS has decided to, how do we say this? We've seen market share, as you guys have stated, slip away from VRS. We make great products, like to the point where I can't say who, but many of these resellers are like, man, it feels this good, and have used other bases, right? And that means a lot to us here at VRS and the team that put all the work behind it. But that has a cost. And Alex, you know the cost of this. Sending them to content creators, giving affiliate codes to those content creators. And yeah, if you sell one with their affiliate code, you get a discount. You get an affiliate amount, you get a discount to the customer. Like, all of this costs money. Alex, I'd love for you to share, because a lot of people don't understand this, and I'm a content creator myself. So it would shed some light to not only myself but the community at large. You explain. I'll let you take the mic.
All the content creators, all the affiliates out there, first of
Mm-hmm.
all, thank you guys, thank you for working with us. This is not a dig against you, it's just how the industry is these days,
Yeah.
and we value, we're going to continue working with you, we're open to new connections as always.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's very hard because on a daily basis we get a ton of requests. Everyone wants free gear. I'll give you a review. Send me some pedals. Send me a wheelbase. I heard your wheelbase is amazing. I
Right.
want to review it. I have 5 followers on TikTok, but I'm a reviewer. I really want to give you a review. Send me free pedals.
Right.
But look, this is not a coincidence. This is
Mm-hmm.
where the sim racing industry, the competitors, our competitors, that's what they've created, right?
Yes.
They've injected so much free equipment that these days people just expect. They expect that they're gonna ask you and you have to give them something, and they don't even have to give you anything back, right?
Right.
We have so many, like we have a few big cases that we definitely gonna go after those people, but they sign contracts, they promise they're gonna do things, we send them the equipment for thousands of dollars and we never heard back even from them you
Oh
know
wow.
it is very difficult out there. But yeah, to your question, look, you also have to be very fair. You cannot give one content creator, one affiliate, one social manager a priority. Everything has to be equal. We want to be always fair with them.
Mm-hmm.
And those discounts that we give them, that money that invest in them, that equipment that it give them, this costs money, and that money comes out of our pockets. And we're at the end of the day a business, right? We don't finance that with our own money. We try to make it substantial. So this gets passed to the customers and gets passed in different shape and forms. It can be, usually it has to be increase in the price, right? It has to come in that gross margin that we talk about, right? Or it's gonna decrease our profits. And if it decrease our profits, we have less money to reinvest back into the market, into the products, So that's the big challenge here. And I know we're gonna talk about that later, and we all can already mention it. It's very difficult to make a decision. Do I invest into marketing to sell more? Do I invest into research and development to make a better product? What is the balance there? So again, like Peter did said that earlier very well. I want to share it again. He said, I'm quote you, Peter. Now he said, different companies that are more engineering oriented and they have the engineering know-how, they would invest definitely in engineering. We are one of those companies. We
Yes.
invest heavily in engineering, how to make a product better, how to make a software better, how to make a firmware of a product better. We invest into this. Others that are more like business oriented and don't have the know-how, for them it's no question. It's like, of course we're going to invest into marketing. It's been working well. We're gonna make sure that we go and we're gonna make sure that every reseller out there has our product so we can create our market presence. And it works for them. It works for them. But again, I feel that the end customer pays for this, because at the end of the day, you don't pay for marketing. In reality, you pay for marketing, but your goal is not to pay for marketing. Your goal is to
Correct.
pay as a consumer, to pay for something that's going to give you value. It's going to make you faster. It's going to give
Correct.
you it's going to give you a product that you're going to use for many, many years, right? It's something that's going to be the life of a product is also very important here, right? You take a DFP20, like our wheelbase, our flagship wheelbase, that the first product that Peter introduced out there,
Yeah.
gonna outlive some of us. This is
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna
yeah,
outlive some of us, but
exactly. And same
it's
with the
pretty
some of
durable.
the steering wheel that we're selling, the Formula One and the light Formula steering wheel. That is superior product that is commercial grade that is gonna outlive, I would say, most of the steering wheels in the market. But again, it lacks the whistles and bells. It lacks the screen. It lacks the
The
lights.
buttons. Yep. The light up.
But
Yep.
this is a solid product. It's just like once you touch it and play with it, you understand that this is
Yes.
never gonna break. Yeah,
Yeah. Don't say never, but it's a figurative speech. Yeah, it's gonna last a long, long
Right.
time.
It's got a long lifespan. I
yeah,
wanted to piggyback on something you said, Alex, and I want to elaborate on this because I am a content creator. I have been sent free gear. I now work for VRS. I didn't
yeah,
always. I bought my DFP20. I,
yeah,
like many of the content creators, sent the email like, "Hey, I'd love to work with VRS." And I don't think I even asked for free gear. It was like I wanted to know like what's the market like how do you
yeah,
work with VRS? I love the wheelbase. How do I work with them? Right now, it just so happened to work out. But I want you guys to understand all of the products I have here that they've sent me cost money. VRS, being the engineering company that they are, said, "Hey, we've got to lean into content creation," and then they bring me along, and it's been a whirlwind since I've been here. I think Alex can attest to that. I've been to Germany, and I've got to meet so many people who just love VRS brand and wondered where we were. And now I think the engineering company is dabbling in the marketing piece. And I would like to say it's paying off because people are seeing VRS. People are going, well, wait a minute, where have you been, right? Like now we see the R295. The DFP15 has been a hit. Alex, we've talked to somebody recently who tested the DFP15 and couldn't stop raving about it. He's like, where's
exactly.
this been all along? And
Yeah,
the engineering in us, we can make great products, right? We can make the product. But now it's Alex is like, hey, we got to put the name out there, right? Ray, I need you let's do the podcast. Alex, let's do the podcast, right? Here's the marketing piece.
yeah,
This costs money. This costs time. This
yeah,
costs a lot to send me all of this gear and say, Ray, set it up, do videos, create content, blast everything, tag VRS and all of it. Like it costs money. So there's a cost to all of this that is being paid for by the consumer. And now, like you both said, Alex and Peter, you don't want that to be passed on to the consumer, but that's kind of the nature of the business. So I just wanted to elaborate on that because I see it, I've seen it, and I see what goes into the company. But it's been paying off because boy, that DFP 15. If I get another Discord message about how great it is and what they have to buy, like I'm sending out the VRS PCBs for the new QRs. Like I've already Dennis has already sent me 150 of them. Right, I've already sent out 100. People are buying multiple QRs. That's how much they love it. So
Yeah.
again, thanks to the consumers, thanks to the engineering team for doing all this. And Alex, let's keep doing the marketing. Um,
Yeah, I
but
want to say something. You touched something very dear and near to both to me and Peter and the entire VRS. Shout out to all the content creators and the people that we work with. We are very selective and we love you guys. We picked, like, even you, Ray. I mean, you
mhm,
can vouch for this. Specifically, you, like, you applied for a job. There was a job posting out there and you applied
yes,
for a job. We selected you. We had thousands of people. We filtered through them. We selected them. And the one thing that we really looked at is we were looking for people that have the engineering know-how behind them. They understand how things work. They were not only
mhm,
fast, they were not only deep into the engineering or into the sim racing, but they understood how things work. They had experience with different brands. They were passionate about making the sim racing world a better place and
absolutely.
bringing value to the customers. So we're very selective. We have the exact same goal. So for us was like, let's make sure that whoever we work with has the same values as we do, and that's invest into educating people, invest into making the sim racing industry a better place, and create more value for the customers. So please, I'm glad you brought that up because, again, I started that there, but I want to make it very clear. We love all the content creators that we work with. We are very happy with them. We have great relationships. Sometimes we have some tough conversation with some of them because we
Right.
just want to be very fair out there. But again, this is how the best product is born.
Yes. And I'm
So
going to piggyback one last second before you go, Peter. Our team talked to Dan Suzuki, and I'm going to give him a shout out here because he did it in his last video. He said, "Hey, why don't you guys make the PCB have a USB C?" Dennis said, "Yeah, why not?" And the reception has been ridiculous. Again, I'm tired of sending them out, but I obviously will. But like, it's been crazy, and that's how we work with content creators. He had an idea that we saw was absolutely useful, and like you said, we have the tough conversations. We received it. Our small, nimble team said, "Yeah, we could do that." Pivoted, and now they're going out in all the new QRs. But Peter, I want to get to you because I know you had something to say.
Yeah, no, what I wanted to say on the topic is that content creators, influencers, that's just the modern day marketing. So
Yes.
it's essentially another form of marketing. And like Alex said, it's you know uh, me being very engineering minded, just didn't want to play that game. But Alex said, no, we got to play that game because we need to get people to know about VRS. But also, I think this is a reason why we're doing those podcasts, because if we don't speak up and speak out for ourselves, then we are 100% dependent on third parties to
Exactly.
to advocate for us, and they won't be able to do as good a job as we would. First of all, because they're not as deeply technical. They don't really understand all the trade-offs that we're making with the products. And when you're an influencer, you are very dependent on just the constant stream of products and working with everybody. So it's
Mhm.
very difficult to be truly objective. And it's very difficult, I think, even more so, to be critical of brands and products because you don't want to alienate anybody. So I have respect for everybody who is doing this. It's a tough job. It's something that we're only beginning to learn how to do ourselves, but it's tough. So when it comes to consumers looking at content online and trying to use the information to make a decision about what they buy and how they spend their money, I think it's always important to think about what are the incentives of the people I'm trusting my, not necessarily your money, but the people I'm
Yeah,
trusting the opinion of, what are their incentives. And I'm not suggesting in any way that people are malicious, but I think they're just like different incentives. Just
correct.
like we talked earlier, bigger companies that are more marketing focused, their incentive is to just have broad reach so that they can sell the big order batches of hardware that they ordered. So an influencer's incentive is to just get more product and have more views. And are they the most knowledgeable on a certain topic? They might be on certain topics. They might not be on
Right.
other topics. But
Correct.
what I personally realized is that we cannot be dependent on third-party influencers to explain why our products are so good and how they compare to other brands. So we do have some plans to do benchmarks and comparisons, which
Oh boy.
I wish people would have actually done, like in a more engineering, very factual way. So I'm really excited and looking forward to us doing some of that stuff. But I think again, that's something that you can only do well if you do it with enough engineering planning and execution. Like it needs to be very clear and very objective, like without any
Yeah.
kind of subjective evaluation of which one is better. Oh, this one feels that way, one feels the
Right.
other way. I think what I want us to show is like graphs. Here's like a measurement of the response time of, we'll start with DFP 20 and DFP 15. I'm just going to show graphs like what's the reaction time, how long can it hold the torque,
Yeah. Facts over feelings, right? Like that's
yes,
where we want to go, right?
yeah.
And trust me, you guys, when you see what we bring to the table, you absolutely enjoy it. A lot of you have asked for this, and we're going to bring you facts over feelings. If ours isn't the best, you'll see it and you'll have numbers to back it up. If ours is the best, again, it'll be objective numbers that'll show you how great our gear is, and I think that'll tell the story. So I look forward to having that one here. How much goes, Alex, into visibility versus product, right? You talked about it, right? Like marketing, engineering. But we have influencers, events, sponsorships, budget, engineering budget, packaging, design, quality control, QA, like all of these things go into visibility versus product, right? Like
Yeah.
we got to spend our money somewhere. And we've all these things. We've talked about influencers and content creators and marketing budgets and spending money. Like, are you going to go engineering? Are you going to go marketing? But looking at some of these other things, right? Like in total, right? You don't have to mention each individual one, but how much goes into visibility versus product?
Yeah, let me just interject really quickly because
Oh, no worries.
always find it funny that, unboxing videos are such a thing. So obviously, the first thing people see about your product is like an unboxing video.
Hmm.
If you're very marketing oriented, you would want to make the box like really pretty. So you may have an incentive to spend more money on the box, something that somebody like me would just throw it away. I won't even like necessarily take a
Right.
moment to look at it and marvel at it. And so yeah, a pretty box. I mean, there's a cost. You're paying for a box
Yeah.
that 90% of you probably are just gonna put in the trash or recycling. But again, it's just the modern day marketing and content creation, and the unboxing videos is just it's just the context in which it create the context which creates incentives for money to be spent in in packaging. And again, that ends up being a marketing cost. So
No,
when you
absolutely.
spend your $100 for a product, like how much of that actually is, what percentage of that is the cost of the packaging, what percentage of that is the actual materials, what percentage of that is marketing costs. And it's not obvious. I mean, it takes like having a certain mindset to look at those things as a consumer and ask yourself a question: do I want to be paying money for that box
No,
I
for
don't
sure.
need and I'm
And
gonna trash?
I'll say
Yeah.
this, and this is why audience, when you get some from VRS, it works so well, is because our team are a bunch of engineers, as we were talking about. We're thinking of the practicality of saving you money, getting you a better product. DFP 20, DFP 15, R295, Formula Pro, Formula Light, VRS pedals, right? Some more stuff that's coming, QRs and things like that, because we're thinking in an engineering mind, and that's the engineering piece, right? I want to get you the best product, but I know Alex is going to speak to the packaging part of it, the materials, the cost, the manufacturing, all that stuff. So, Alex, I'll let you explain the rest.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make it very short. I mean, you guys, we talked about it again and again. So I would say for VRS, because that's what I look at every day. First of all, I'm very lucky to work with some amazing engineers. For someone that's been in the company for about 2 years now, I walked in a very engineering heavy company. Like everyone was an engineer, right? And this is great because we have the right minds to make better products, to like improve the product. So every dollar spent on a big ad campaign is not spent on refining your gear.
Right?
We choose to invest into engineering, so you feel that the difference on the truck, you can feel the difference on the truck, not in your social feed. I guess that's the punchline here. You can feel the difference on the truck and not on the social feed. That's
Right.
what it is. As is corny as it sounds, it's exactly the truth.
It's
We
true.
chose to put more money into engineering, make the equipment better, every piece of the equipment. I'm not talking about only the little components. I'm not talking about the motors. I'm not talking about the PCBs. We're talking about here including the software and the firmware that moves everything, how it communicates with the different games, the telemetry behind it.
Hmm.
So we always try to make it better and better. We're never gonna stop supporting products. We're gonna try to inject money into new products. We're already doing it. I don't wanna say too much because we have some products that are coming
Yes.
up, but we're not ready to announce them. So yeah, stay
Yeah.
stay tuned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got some great pedals coming. We can talk about that. We announced that
Yeah.
at the expo. So, but like you said, we're
The
spending money on the. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the more of you guys follow and subscribe, and the bigger following and audience we have first party, then the less we need to spend uh third party
Yeah,
marketing. So,
like, subscribe,
Yeah.
follow.
yep.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I get what the saying, right? Like, it's. I guess the saying though is, if you make the greatest gear, right? It's like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound? We've made some of the greatest gear. We now have been smart, methodically, I would say, about what we market, who we market to, and how we market, which I think is now letting people know, oh, VRS is that company, right? So, kudos to everybody there. Gonna move on to the next question. Shortcuts, right? Where do they show up?
I would say engineering shortcuts. Peter can talk a little bit about this. He's the expert in this. He's the engineer. He's the mind and the soul behind the VRS, him and the whole engineering team. But he can talk a little bit about how important different component is versus, like, can you use a cheap? Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
Yeah.
think it would have been nice to have Frank for that segment because he's more of a expert than me on hardware. But yeah, it's from designing the product and choosing which components to use. That's already like a very important decision you make. Choosing components and designing the electronics in a way that gives you something that's durable and that would last you a long time starts at the engineering phase. But also it's really important how it's manufactured and how good the quality control is at manufacturing. So you don't have faults that happen soon after you start operating it, or like months or few years later. So there's just a lot of thought and engineering that you can put into every single stage of the product life cycle, from design to manufacturing. And Frank has done a brilliant job with the electronics, and he's always very hands-on when it comes to first production batch. He actually travels to the factory and makes sure everything is actually
Wow.
coming out to his standard, which is a very high standard. I think it creates some challenges for Alex, because Alex, needs to ensure that we reach certain gross margins, and
Hmm.
so we got to work on reducing the manufacturing cost in order to hit a certain gross margin that allows us to be a sustainable and hopefully growing business. But it is challenging. I think it's very easy to cut corners either in the design or in when it comes to manufacturing and quality control during manufacturing, and just come up with a design that looks good out of the box, but then you have wear and tear that develops pretty quickly, and you end up with things that look shiny and pretty but don't really last a long time. And I'm sure Ray and others have had experience with products that it just don't last.
Yeah,
And I think it's a challenge we we hopefully will face, and will be able to find a good trade-off. But again, if you want to reach a broader market, you need to hit a certain price. And in order to hit the certain price and have that be a sustainable product, you need to get the manufacturing cost to a certain level. And at that point, you need to be making trade-off decisions. And we're trying our best to maintain the quality and maintain the durability and reliability, but I think it's a constantly a moving target, because the market is moving as well, and our competitors are constantly coming out with new products, and the market is changing and evolving, and we're learning as we go. So yeah, you can have more margin for marketing or for whatever if you cut costs in manufacturing quality,
right.
for
And I
example,
think
or yeah.
I think it's three elements, right? And Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm pretty sure you know quality, price, and time, right? Like you can have great quality, then it's not going to be very fast, and the price is going to be very high, right? You can't have all three, because the minute you try and go for all three, right, you got to sacrifice, like you said, a trade off. If I cut down on the quality, right, the price will be lower, but then like the speed to get to market, Formula Pro as a prime example, great quality, but the time was the sacrifice, right? Great quality, pretty high price. The time to market was very slow. So it's like you have to balance all of these
Yeah,
three things.
absolutely. I mean, when it comes to designing something, you can probably prototype something very quickly, and it might work. But if you want to make sure that that thing actually lasts, then you need to take some time to test it, think about how to test it, how to make sure that your design is sound, and how do
Right.
you make sure that the components actually last. We have had bugs in electronic components, where I think with DFP20, where we had to change the chip because every once in a while it would short up the MOSFETs, and
Oh boy.
would burn up the MOSFETs. So I think that set us back some time, and we had to change a component. And it just it's I think it was a component from a quality brand. It's just the way we're using it, we're triggering some sort of weird bug that few people are triggering, and it just in our use case we happen to trigger the bug. So yeah, you just the thing is, you don't know what you don't know, and if you want to move fast, you don't have time to test, you don't have time to make
Right.
fixes if you find out that you have a potential problem that's gonna limit the lifetime, or it's gonna cause failures. I mean, you can choose to replace devices that fail, but nobody likes their wheelbase dying in the middle of an important race. And
Yeah,
all
that's
sim racers
definitely no fun.
know that every race is like the most important race in their lives. So
Exactly. I will not mention any names. I've had a wheelbase die and had to deal with customer service, and they never responded, and they had a wheelbase for a month and a half. So yeah, trust me, I understand as a customer, right? Like or you could just do like some companies and copy others. We're not going to say any names here, but like we want to be unique. We want to bring great value, and that's what we're always going to do. Alex, question for
Let
you.
me just say, yeah,
Oh,
let me just say
what?
something. I want to add a couple of things. Look, this is exactly the daily problem that we have. Like with unlimited resources, we can create a very, very good product that is also going to be very expensive. And this is not what the market wants. We already tested
Right.
this with Formula Steering, right?
Right.
We learned that lesson. So the challenge that I have with the engineers is like I have to push them always go back and redesign something, make this fit so we can profit to the point that we can reinvest those money back into engineering and create more. And they understand that. And what is quality? Quality, it can be the how long the product is gonna last, but it's also important how fast are you with this product, how well
Hmm.
communicate with all the systems and the game, right? And look, we have a very good warranty. If you compare, and I look at that a lot, I compare the
Yeah,
warranty
it's great.
of the manufacturers, between the warranty. This is not a coincidence because we stay behind what we manufacture, right? If you look at other companies, they have like a table that shows this component warranty,
Right,
all the other components, maybe I don't know, 6 months, and then on some
right,
other maybe a year, but they have like a whole table. With us, like we stand behind our products, and it's always a balancing act. How much, how much value can we give the customer so they don't have to spend some crazy amount of money? We can reach that 80% of the market, not the top 20%. We want to get people from the get-go, and they can stay with the product for a while.
that's
Another thing that popped into my mind is extended warranties. That's one of my favorites.
yeah.
Because
If you
again,
yeah, your
like
car warranty is
as
running
a
out. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, as a consumer again, like if I'm going to pay, let's say, 200-300 bucks for extended warranty, I mean, and it's essentially like 25% of the cost of the product. And if I want to get like an extra year, an extra couple of years, like, I mean, if I think, I mean, as an engineer, so does it mean that there's a 25% chance that the thing's gonna break? So
Yeah.
why spend, like, if it's $1,000 and I spend 250 for
Right.
extended warranty? So there's uh, I'm spending 250, like 25% of the cost of the product
Hmm.
to save myself from spending another 1,000 2 years later. So is the manufacturer telling me that there's a 25% chance that that product's not going to last 2 years? It just
Right.
doesn't make sense to
It
me. I don't
seems
think
like
that's
yeah. It
yeah.
seems like there's a hidden agenda there, right? Like, wait a minute. So why would you just give me a 5-year warranty or a 3-year warranty, right? Why are you
Yeah.
giving me 60 days, 90? Like I've seen some of them are 6 months, and you're like, oh my god, that's like two iRacing seasons, right? And then
Mhm.
by the end of the second, you're hoping and praying that this doesn't break, right? And
Yeah.
that's what you mean. Like we're gonna stand behind it. We believe we put out great products. And again, that goes back to the she just
I
reminded the
think, I don't know if
marketing
it's like
or engineering.
marketing or, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's either free money for the manufacturer, like if their thing lasts,
Hmm.
they're just like free money, extra margin. Or if their thing doesn't last, then it's, you're paying for, having your thing replaced after 2 years because, they know it's not going to last. So it just like whenever I see something like this, it just like red flags
No,
in my mind.
I understand. No, I
Look, I
totally get it.
think I think I want to make the following message here. I want people to walk away with understanding that when they buy from us, they're voting with their wallet. They're
Yep.
spending those money and they're saying, "I trust VRS that the product I'm gonna buy from them is gonna be the best possible product out on the market for the money that I'm paying them." They're getting for maybe not gonna be the cheapest, but we're definitely not the more expensive either. Like
Mhm.
we're right in the middle or even in the lower. Now we're priced in the lower bottom of the market, but the value they're getting is definitely probably in the very top of the market. The quality, the life of this product is gonna stay with them forever. So
Let's not say forever, but a figurative speech. I gotta play the lawyer here. Also, as an engineer, just technically, it's not gonna be forever, but
But I think we all
long,
understand. Yeah.
longer than most.
Yeah.
yeah,
But no, for sure. And I like the voting with your wallet, right? Because as a consumer, you have one option whether you want to buy A or B. And I tell my kids about this all the time. Opportunity cost, you either spend it on A or B. You spend it on A, you're not going to be able to get B, or you get B, you can't get A, right? And people are voting, and they have been voting quite vehemently since we unveiled many of our new products and many of our new updates, and showing that yes, the DFP20 will continue to be supported, right? Then we launched the UDFP20, which came out to some controversy, right? And people were like, well, wait a minute, what is this? Like, you're just limiting everything? And I don't get, like, no. And again, having great content creators, I'm going to go back to Dan. He just did his review. hey, like you're not getting any limitation in the device, which is limiting power, right? So you can come in at an entry point and then upgrade. And I think the most popular has been like the 9 Newton meter UDFP20, right? And people have been investing in it and coming back saying, hey, I love the 9. I wonder what 12 feels like, right? And then you can upgrade to where you want to go. So again, more value getting it into the hands of the consumers, and I think they're excited by that. So I think that's where the voting with your wallet, and we appreciate it here at VRS. Couple more quick questions. This is a short one for you, Alex. Short-term growth, long-term experience. Where's the better value?
Of course, long-term experience. I mean, there is no look. We wanna earn the customer for the longer. We want this customer to stay with VRS forever. We want this customer to buy, be happy with the product, and come back and say, "Look, I bought this from you. It was amazing. I'm gonna buy from you again." We definitely want this. I mean, we look at that. We look at long-term customer retention, right? And that the only way you can do this if you really give them that performance, you can really give them that real value, you know. So
Yep.
again, we want to when you buy from a company, any company, not just us, you really want to look for a brand that's transparent, that it puts engineering over the hype, you know, that they're focused
Oh
on
boy.
the long-term experience, not just on a flashy launch, you know.
Yeah, steak, not sizzle. Yeah, for sure.
And again, on that topic, DFP20 is going to be like what 6 years old this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
it's challenging to consumers, like especially like in gaming. Consumers are so used to new products every year,
yeah.
and
New
all the
phone. Yeah,
marketing, yeah, and all the marketing is like has conditioned consumers that next year there's going to be something new, and it's got to be better. And certain products definitely get better year by year. But in sim racing, I don't know. I mean, we've done a really great job with DFP 20, now with DFP 15. Like,
hmm
how do we get better than this? I think we do have some ideas.
we have some great
But
ideas.
yeah, we have some ideas. Maybe a DFP 25
Ooh,
once we discontinue DFP 20. But it is actually, once you do a good job at designing a good product, it may be difficult to just come up with something new every year. And most consumer products, there's a lot of focus on aesthetics. So, you know do we want to
yeah.
come out with a new design for the housing for the DFP 15 every year? I mean, is that is that
we
what we
just
should be doing?
no. We
If
should
we
just
want to
sell
keep
them
our
like
products relevant. And
sell them phone cases, right? Like you sell it every year. We sell a new DFP 15 case. You could just wrap it in. You can make fuchsia and yellow and
Yeah, they
green
remember,
and red. Put some racing stripes on one of them. Like, trust me, I
yeah.
think it'll be a big hit. But no, but you're right. Like 6 years for the UDFP 20. But again, that goes back to engineering, right? I've had the UDFP 20 for a few years now, and the new next gen force feedback, like it became a brand new base. One that like I swore, and I'll tell people I thought SimiCube was the gold standard, and it was like, yeah, like, but I get better value out of my DFP 20. I'm not going to sell it. I reviewed them all. Was like, nope, I'm not going to sell it. I just love my VRS, and the price per Newton meter was great. And then the next gen force feedback came out, and again, we've seen it again and again. I'm going to quote Dan again because he's had the DFP 20, he's had the SimiCube 3, the SimiCube 2. He just said our wheelbase is the best on the market. And it's not us buying reviews. It's, hey, we're sending this to you. You tell us what you think. And if you think it's great, let people know. If you don't like it, like he came back to it after trying the next gen force feedback. Had already done a review years ago. People don't remember. He did like 3 years ago where he picked ours. But then did the same thing again. So it shows that our engineers, our designers, our team, they're really dedicated to what they do. Now, his method is mine as well. Like it doesn't look the prettiest, but it does the job, right? And Peter just hinted at a DFP 25. I'm going to hold him to that, and we'll talk about that at some time in the future. Hopefully, everybody send me notes in Discord. Just keep blasting us. I'll put something in the podcast channel. And we'll do a poll on it. If you could have your next VRS wheelbase, what would it be? and then we'll hold Peter to what he just said. So,
TFP 50.
And look,
more power is is more better, right? More
the
power,
one
more
thing
better.
that when you buy from a company, you're really casting a vote, for how
Yes.
you want for how you want the entire industry to treat you. So we're
Yeah.
making it clear. We want you to vote for the real value and the real performance, right? We want to get out of this vote so you don't get tricked with marketing. Buy something, buy for the performance. That's the
Right.
message. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do votes on our Discord. So again, we did one about our round rim, and like that input went directly to our team that's looking at round rims. And as we've talked about, like we will be rating a round rim. So again, we love the community, and we think when you vote with your wallet and you vote with your voice and you tell us what you're looking for, our alpha teams, our beta teams have been testing our products. We appreciate it. So it goes a long way. So I've got two final questions here. And I think this will really play into it. So now that we've explained part of the business side to the consumer, right? We've given them an understanding and a breakdown of what to look for, what goes into making our products, how we choose, marketing versus engineering, the finer details. When customers are looking at items and they're going to purchase, I'm going to make sure I get this correct. What should customers be looking for beyond just the specs, right? Because we know that they're going to look at a sheet of paper and they're going to go, oh, this one has 50 newton meters, this one has 20, more better. This one has a slew rate of 9 million, this one has a slew rate of 10, right? Like they're going to look and just see more numbers and higher numbers and it equals more better without understanding the nuances of them. So, how do we get customers to look beyond what's on paper? And Alex, you've kind of talked about this a little bit to what the brand is, right?
Yeah. Our we really want to show the customer, the client, our society that we live in these days. We want to show them that they're buying into a brand that is gonna continue to improve things. We're not only buying a pure product, we're buying into the brand. You're buying into the being a long-term customer. From the technical aspects, like what exactly I need to be looking at, this was more like an engineering job, that probably Peter can answer much better than I do. But you don't want to go after the flashy, uh, well packaged layer. You don't want to go after the million views on TikTok because someone it's famous and he has, I don't know, $3 million, 3 million followers, let's say, and they charge $25,000 for a little reel.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do that, if you buy from these people, if you buy from that brand, that means that you really like incentivizing them to continue to pump money into that sort of marketing where they just
Right.
campaign and they don't refine the gear. There is no impact on improvement of the sim racing industry. It doesn't become and it doesn't become as good as the real racing. And that's always the goal. We want to simulate the real world. We want to give you that same exact experience if you are behind the wheel on the racetrack.
No, I agree. I agree. Anything you want to add to that, Peter?
I would say, it is difficult to make a purchasing decision when there's so many options on the market,
Yes.
and most people just don't have the time to learn and understand and be able to make a fully educated decision by themselves, and that's why there is such a big reliance on review videos and
Mm-hmm.
influencers. But at the end of the day, if you're spending good money on hardware equipment, it's probably worth just spending a little bit of time and learning and listening to more information from the manufacturers firsthand. I don't think there are many that are actually doing it at this point, but I think we're starting to do it. And I think in the current world, I think that's what we should be doing. That's why we're doing these podcasts. So yeah, just follow us, listen to our discussions, comment, ask questions, let us know what other topics you want to know about. And yeah, I think just learn more and then make better educated decisions.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, if you're someone who's brand new in sim racing and maybe you just saw it somewhere and you felt like, oh, I really need to get into this, like you made your first buying decision, that's fine. I mean, you're part of the community. Welcome. And
Right.
from then on, it's just, yeah, enjoy it and learn more about it and figure out how to have more fun and more joy and more get more value out of that experience. And yeah, we'd love to share our perspectives on things. And if people like what we share and align with our goals and values, then yeah, support us.
Absolutely. No, and whether you've made a purchase or not, right? Like you bought your first piece of kit or you don't know about VRS at all and maybe you see this video, please join us, right? Like we will explain it all to you. As you can see, my engineers love to talk and they love to explain and get down into the details. We've had Frank, we've had, Peter, we've had Dennis. Like, these guys love to talk about the gear. We have passion. Alex will talk to you about the gear, but then he'll show you the business side of things, right? What goes into the decisions that we make and all of those things, right? And then you can reach out to somebody like me. Trust me, you guys already are. And I am super thankful that I get the opportunity to help each and every one of you. And when I don't have an answer, obviously I'm going to the guys on the team and we're trying to find solutions. And the great thing about it is we all work together as one cohesive team. And I've gotten to know so many different people and, with so many different skill sets that just make this team highly, highly, highly trained, highly skilled. I think about Liam Neeson in that one movie Taken. They got a unique set of skills. And I think it's really cool. But before we close this out, I want to ask you guys to summarize this. VRS, our future. Where do we fit in? We've learned from the past. It is 2026. Happy New Year, happy holidays to everybody. But it's now 2026 and we're moving forward. We've got new products, we've got new designs, we've got new elements that we're going to bring out. We've got great ideas. We talked about VRS1. We've got all of these grandiose things we plan. And as a small team, we've got to make smart decisions. Like Alex is honing people in to say, hey, focus on this and not that. And Peter's got great ideas. Focus on this and not that. And really go and hone everything in. So I say to you guys, 2026 and beyond, where does VRS fit in into the sim racing market? And I'll start with you, Peter, first.
I'm personally focusing more on software again. And yeah, we talked about VRS1. I'm really excited about developing it. And I think this could be a great marketing tool for us in terms of
Yes.
just getting people who are on other hardware, get them in the fold and give them tools that make their sim racing experience better. So you can being able to join the VRS brand and family without actually owning any hardware yet. And I think for me, I definitely want us to do more of these podcasts and to share more insights and just bring people along for the journey. We're all having fun building what we're building, and you know, Ray, how passionate everybody is. And
Yes, very.
I think just being more open, transparent, and sharing our own journey with everybody. So I would say I look forward to just more behind the scenes and more inside scoops and learning more about how we develop the products as we develop them. I think we'll have more podcast discussions, previews of what we're building. So yeah, I think very different from VRS until 2026.
Awesome. Alex, now I know you bring a different light. We've talked about this in our one-on-one calls.
Yeah.
So I want to hear what you have to say about 2026 because you've got some good plans. Peter's got great plans, but I know you see things from a different eye in the business aspect. 2026 VRS.
We're gonna continue to do what we do. We're gonna try to get you faster. But we're
Yes.
gonna change a little bit the playbook. Until now, we really had the VRS equipment worked only with VRS. Now we're gonna start looking more to partner with other great companies. There are great companies out there. Don't get me wrong. There are competitors that keep us on our toes. They pull amazing products. We're gonna open our ecosystem to kind of work with some of those. We're gonna give how this helps the consumer, right? If you have a favorite steering wheel and you want to use it on a
Yes.
wheelbase, that's one way to do it, right? So we're definitely gonna. We're working already with many of them. We have something in their pipelines. They're gonna start selling some of them VRS wheelbases and pedals potentially and some other things, So
Awesome.
we're gonna expand the customer experience. We also the second part of my answer is how we gonna do this. We also gonna start emphasizing on what Peter is doing, the software. We're going to make our software firmware work better with the whole ecosystem.
Yes, I
Um,
see.
because look, your wheelbase, your steering wheel, your pedals, your shifters, your button box, they have a little limitation, and that limitation is communication with the firmware and the software. So we're gonna try to create maybe a new product in a way, or maybe a new in a way even telemetry even, like we're gonna try to enhance the whole experience. Sim racing is not easy, right?
Nope.
Where many people buy invest into this and I don't know, they don't progress fast enough, and so many months later they just give up or lose the passion is because they don't progress enough, and it's just because it's not easy. We're gonna try to help those people to stay into it, to like really get their passion to the next level, and this can only happen when you combine the coaching, the telemetry behind it with the hardware. So we're gonna
Mhm.
find a creative way to do that. We're gonna try to find something new.
Oh, I look forward to it. And I'm going to summarize by saying I look forward to all of that because it's great that VRS says we are the one stop shop. There's not a company that exists on the market right now that brings you everything that we bring. We're going to share more in podcasts. We're going to have coaches on. We're going to have Peter back on, Alex. We're going to have engineers. We're going to have collaborators with us that work with us. We have a lot of plans for 2026. And I'm glad they give me the opportunity to be the vessel to be able to share it with you. As well as, like Alex was saying, we want all of your gear to play well with us, right? Many of you may watch my streams. You may see all of the wheels I buy, review, or DIY or build, the things I add, and they all work with my DFP20 or my DFP15, right? Because we want you to bring all of your gear to VRS. We want you part of the family, we want you part of the team. And we think the best way to get there is like Peter and Alex said. We make great software, we make great hardware. We're going to bring all of those together, communicate together, and then put them in one cohesive unit so that the decision to join VRS is an easy one, right? So we do think that'll happen. So, with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. We hope to have another podcast out in 2 weeks. We're going to try and keep these going regularly. We have a lot of ideas. If you guys have content you want to know from us, or questions or feedback or concerns, please let us know. Like, subscribe, follow on all the channels, hit us up in Discord, and we're going to say you guys have a great one, and we'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Awesome. Good job, guys.
All right. What do you think, Ray?